you guys know I love to just give it away and then we'll talk about it. And I don't feel like I'm very skilled at sitting here and teasing it, but the your business can only grow as fast as your willingness to do this one thing. And to me, that one thing, and then we'll talk about like a lot of iterations, how I'm seeing it in applications, et cetera, is your willingness to tell yourself the truth about what you want. And maybe I would even add to that and about what's not working for you. Um, I feel like for so many women, we have gotten conditioning that pulls us away from that. Don't really tell the truth about what you want. If something's not working for you, definitely don't say that like out loud and stuff, you know? Um, and it is so detrimental in business. And it's why I've been noticing it so much in one-on-one applications because when someone just comes in hot in an application and just tells me, like, this is what I want, this is why I'm not getting it, this is what's in my way, I'm like, I can know if I can really help you or not, right? It's so much easier. It feels like we're starting here in terms of a starting line for coaching versus back here, right? And it makes such a difference in being able to actually run it, the thing. And here's like the big but this isn't easy. And that's kind of a lot of what we're going to talk about today because I think it's so much easier for me to sit here and be like, tell yourself the truth about what you want. And like, yes, obviously. And like, there are so much, I think, conditioning, um, like societal norms, et cetera, that make that really hard to do. And so that's what we need to talk about. Um, Michelle said, okay, but more also assuming I know what that is, which is my actual problem. Exactly. That's part of it too, Michelle, I think, is that like, again, it's so easy to say that and it's so much harder to be like, but what is that? And do I actually know it? And do I just think I know it because X? And I also think our industry so massively influences that because it kind of tells you what you should want, right? Just like society does for women, it kind of like tells you what you're supposed to want. And so getting underneath this is actually like such big, huge, important work. And it's like why it's kind of the barometer sometimes for how fast your business can grow. Because until you know that, it's so much harder to move toward it. And then you'll kind of move toward it and you'll find yourself backing away from it a lot because it's maybe not actually what you wanted, right? So there's like a lot of nuance to this. Um, Manali said, I feel like our industry, yeah, exactly, makes it hard to really figure out what it is at the core because we're so conditioned with thinking we have to do everything. Bing, bing, bing. Emily said, excited to hear about this because I feel like I'm always asking my clients, what do you want? Yes. Was reading your IG post today and kept thinking, oh, the little girl in me sees the little girl in you. Yes. Um, it's so funny, Emily, because I feel like I have sent many a meme to my clients of that scene from the Notebook, you know, where like Noah's shaking Allie and he's like, what do you want? And I'm like, I always feel like Noah, and I think that's what you're saying, like with clients where I'm like, just tell me what you want, you know, because it's like it is that big and that important. Eva says, as I'm preparing the application, which feels like a coaching session, I found it much more difficult to point out compared to pointing out the issues I notice. Yes, it's so much easier to be like, here's all the things I have wrong with me, because again, conditioning, right? And also why the little girl got a little disconnected from her own wants. It's all related. Exactly, Michelle. Exactly. I'm going to save that gift in my back pocket. If you're a coach, you need that gift. Like it's a good one. Same. I help my clients gut check this, and oftentimes they realize it's their societal conditioning rather than their actual desires. I mean, 100%. Like if I think about my own life, most of my early trajectory had absolutely nothing to do with what I wanted. Do you know what I mean? Um, it's like I got like the dream job. I got married. I got two master's degrees. And then I kind of woke up one day and was like, wait, did I even pick any of this? Like, I don't even like this guy that much. I'm kidding, but not kidding. Um, like, did I even like want this, or was I just told that like this is what you do? You like get the degrees, you get married, you buy a house, you know, like do all the right steps. You get the dream job. And like, I remember driving to that dream job and looking around, like, this is one of my most vivid memories. And like looking around at other people in their cars and being like, does everybody feel like this? Like, is this just me? Like, where I kind of feel like I'm not living in a life I chose, but like, I guess I did choose it, but like, does not feel like the dream. Is that like, am I just existentially fucked, or like, does everyone feel like this that's driving to work right now? Like, I so deeply remember that feeling of being like, is this all there is? And does everyone else just handle this feeling. Like, what? Hi, Lacey. I feel like I go through phases too, which I'm in like visionary dreamer mode versus like heads down tactical. I feel like it requires two different parts of my brain. Ooh, that's good. Let's talk about that, Manali. That's great. Hi, Tanaya. Oh my God, never be sorry. Thank you for being here. It means so much to me. Michelle said, I feel like there's this prescribed path in society, and then when you check everything off, that's when so many of us look again and go, wait, now what? And it's confronting. It's so confronting. Eva says it's also so easy to see what others are doing as the only options to pick from. Yes, exactly. So I I think I was very lucky in the sense that when I got divorced, I don't know why I'm telling you this story, but here we are. I promise I will get back to this in a get back to like my point, but we're going here for a second. When I got divorced from my first husband, I got a lot of pushback in my life. I've talked about that a bit before. If you're an OG Happy Thoughts listener, you know, got a lot of pushback in my life, pretty much from everyone around me except for my father, who was like, "Get him out." Like even my mom, even my like closest friends were like, "I'm sorry, what? No, 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 no." And it was really hard. And I almost feel like this whole self-concept that I have of like that I had of like, I'm the one that like does the right thing and does what she's supposed to do, kind of like cracked in this massive way then. And it was so on top of me building this business. Like I started this business when I was still married, right? So it kind of all cracked at the same time. And it was so helpful because I think that's why I actually gave myself permission to build the partnership model is because of that fracture, because I wasn't just like the good girl doing the right thing. Because like Eva said, like I didn't see anyone else doing it that way. I was like, oh, there's a way to scale your business. And then when kind of this whole piece of like me being the good girl and doing it the right way cracked, I was like, okay, well, what do I fucking want? Oh, yeah, I want to just do one-on-one. Oh, yeah, I would like to get paid for the results I'm helping clients get. Like, it really, like, I'm so grateful that happened in the way it did and that it created the sort of like path for me that it did because it is like the singular reason why I have this business. I mean, there are lots of pieces as it relates to like how I built it and everything, but like being able to be like, I haven't seen this done, but this is what I want and this is how I want it was like the foundation for all of it. But I don't think I could have gotten there if I hadn't done the divorce thing and like surprised and disappointed everyone, kind of, you know, and been like, oh, okay, well, I lived through that. Fuck it. I might as well pick the business model I want, you know? I feel shame around this specifically in naming my revenue goals out loud because it's equally important to build something sustainable and solid. Yes. Okay. So this is another really interesting part. Thank you for bringing that up, Bahia, because this is something I see in applications too, is like what I'm often like asking myself when I'm like reading through the application is like, what's the like why under this? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that sometimes you can tell that someone feels like they're, let me say this in a different way. I'm like, are they saying this because they want this? Are they saying this because they think they're supposed to want it, is what I mean. I don't mean they're trying to like impress me in any specific way. I think in such a lucky and blessed way, like I really don't typically feel like that. I feel like the people that are applying for one-on-one with me like do show up in a really transparent way, which I'm so thankful for. But I'm more like, what's the why underneath this, right? And for some people, like their why is so big and it's so huge and like it's so cool when I see someone like own that and step into that and have that. And then for other people, you know, like they do have a big why, but it like looks really different. And like the vehicle to that doesn't have to be like this huge, huge, huge business. But what is interesting about it is that like dichotomy of like we can all always make ourselves wrong. And there's like this constant push pull with women of like want you know, like be just enough, but definitely don't be too much. And I think we do that with business sometimes too, where we're like, well, I have to have like enough of a revenue goal that like it's impressive or that I can prove myself or that people think I'm like a good business owner or whatever, but I can't have too much of it because, you know, then they'll start to judge me or then I'm like not building sustainably. And I think a lot of women get like really caught in this like in between. And again, what's so ironic about it is like most of it has nothing to do with what we actually want. It's like this outward approval thing. I feel like I talked about this on the live before, and I really wish I could remember where I heard this. I mean, I know that it was a TikTok, but like, you know, um, this woman was talking about how um women are conditioned to see ourselves from the outside looking in. Like that is how society conditions women. So we're watching ourselves almost, and we're like, do you want too much? Do you want not enough? Do you da, da, da? Like we're outside observers, but not in the good way of like where you can step back and be an outside observer, but where we're like being a symptom of what everyone is thinking and judging us for. Where men are conditioned in society to live from that inside looking out, right? So they're like, what do I want? What do I need? What do I need to go get? And listen, there are problems with both, let us be real. However, I think what's so hard about being a woman that is like conditioned to watch herself and that's also conditioned to nurture and care for everyone else is that it is so fucking easy to lose who we are because we're not in this inside place looking out. We're like outside looking in. We're like, oh, if I was watching you, this is what a good business owner would do. Or like, for me in the divorce example, if I was watching you, this is what a good wife would do. This is what someone who actually took her time to think this through would do, blah, 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 Um, Manali said, oh, I've never heard it phrased that way, but that makes a lot of sense, right? That really, really landed with me when I heard that. For sure, it's so hard to discern what we want because of all this. I think about this all the time. And even with this awareness, it's still hard to connect to what's under those layers of conditioning. Yes, right? So we're in this constant spin of like, okay, I think I want that. So then we'll like run towards that. And then maybe we even get it, or maybe we kind of get it, or maybe we start to get it. Or maybe we can't get it because we actually don't want it. And like, then we're like having to pull it all the way back and then go after this thing. And I think this is where like even shiny object syndrome can come from sometimes, or what appears to be shiny object syndrome is a better way to say that. Because it's like, it looks like you're constantly changing your mind when really it's like you're almost having to try stuff on a little bit because you don't fucking know. You don't actually know what feels good to you. Like most of us did not grow up with like a life and a world and an experience where people were constantly being like, does that feel good to you? Do you want that? Does that like feel nice in your body? You know what I mean? Like it's like, of course, like that is not what we grew up doing. Do you know what I mean? Um, yeah, Michelle said to complicate things, my outside lens is usually way off, aka she's far more critical and undersells herself. Yes, why is being a woman so hard, girl? Because patriarchy, which but seriously. Yes, full force in the wrong direction, right? And so then not only are we like doing the dance, just trying to figure out what we want because like we should be, right? But then we're getting made wrong for that. It's like, and look at you, you have shiny object syndrome, and look at you, you're so inconsistent or what is the word I'm trying to say? I don't know, but you get what I'm saying. Like then it becomes almost like this character flaw. Like I see that show up a lot in these applications too, where people are like, I know I've tried a couple different things, but don't worry, like I'm still whatever, like solid, consistent, reliable. And I'm like, you do not have to explain that to me. Like, I see you, girl. You are probably trying to figure out what it feels like to live inside your body and what you want, you know? But like then we enter selfish. Thank you, Michelle, is a great one. Yes. Manny Jen here. Yes. Sometimes you just have to try it and it's okay to change your mind. Yes. Imagine if we had grown up with that, right? And so then we kind of internalize it as this character flaw almost that we're like trying things on, right? Like Lacey's saying, sometimes you just have to like try it to know it. And then we're like building now this even worse narrative. Like, right. So it's like not only do I not know what I want, but I'm someone that tends to try a lot of things and then I don't follow through. And I'm not, like reliable in that way. And it like erodes our self-trust. And really, it's like if you wind it all the way back, it's really because what? Like I never got the space and permission to really know what I want and tell the truth about it. What I see in so many of my clients' businesses, I did this, I did this story series where I was like, a couple of my clients were like joking with me that I like tricked them in coaching because like they thought they were hiring me for one thing and got totally another. And it ended up being a really funny series because all of my clients were like, here are all the ways you've tricked me, kind of. But the point is, I should also clarify they meant this in a kind, loving way, not like true marketing trickery, right? But the point I want to bring that back to is because so much of our work is about like, well, what do you want? What serves you? What feels good to you? And so what they come in thinking versus what it ends up being tend to be really far apart. Like one of the clients that I shared in that story series had said something to me like, oh, I came in thinking that I was just disorganized and I needed you to help me get my shit together. And actually, I didn't have the right team and the right support at all. And so if you think about that example, it's like that's why it matters to tell the truth about what you want and what's not feeling good. Because what we are conditioned to do as women is internalize that outside looking in, right? It's my fault. It's me. I'm the one that's wrong. So she came in being like, clearly I'm a disorganized, crazy person. And then I get in there and I'm like, how are you doing this? Like, are you okay? Because it's like this, you don't have the support you need to be doing this. Like, how are we even possibly talking about your organization when, like, how could you be running this like this? You know? And so that's why it tends to be like, oh, it's like totally something different because most of us aren't building from that place of like, this is what I want, this is what doesn't feel good to me, and I'm willing to tell the truth about it. Because most of us are lying to ourselves because that's what we're conditioned to do. Like women are conditioned to lie to ourselves. I mean, I think that's kind of fucked up to say, but it's like true, right? We're conditioned to be like, no, 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 no. That's just because you're sensitive, or no, 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 that's just because you're emotional, or like my particular flavor of fucked up stuff I wrote about today in the Instagram post is hypervigilance. And for so much of my life, I was trained that what I was seeing and spotting wasn't correct, right? Um, I remember like when Kenny and I were first together, like he is not someone that is like very in touch with his emotions. I am someone that's like massively in touch with mine. And I would be like, you seem mad right now. And he'd be like, I'm not mad. What are you talking about? And I'm like, but you're giving mad. And he's like, no, I'm not. What are you talking about? And now it's like almost this joke where it's like I can read it before he even does. But you know, like that's just a, you know, like a light example of it. But I think that it's like this thing where we're trained, like, oh, you actually do know that that person's mad, but you're not supposed to say it out loud. Or you actually can read what's happening here, but like God, don't like bring it up, you know? And so I think that like that's just my version of my experience, right? I think everyone has their own, but like we have all of these experiences where we're literally trained, stop it, you're the problem, stop it. What you're spotting isn't true. Stop it. This isn't that. Or like a lot of us, I think, also got trained with um in this kind of like millennial culture of like you should be able to have it all, like this idea of like the woman who can have it all, right? And so I think that we also really got trained for that too. So it's like you kind of have to lie to yourself about it, but you kind of have to get all of it. That doesn't sound hard at all, does it? I can't imagine why this is so difficult for us. I can't imagine why we're all so fucked up around it. Like it makes so much sense, you know? My gripe exactly with the riches are in the niches. Yes. So many Manny Gens. I feel like I attract a lot of Manny Gens. I wonder why. Let me think. Why would I? Hmm. I'm a generator, 3-5. But anyway, the point here is that this is incredibly, incredibly difficult work. It's also why I really believe in one-on-one work specifically, because I think like one, our industry is so intense about prescribing to you what you want. And then two, I think group programs can be really helpful in some senses, but I also think that sometimes you can really get lost in the sauce in that very quickly of what you want in there too, because one, it is typically more prescriptive. And two, you're really just seeing like what everyone is doing. And again, it's like you're watching yourself from the outside in versus inside out. And so it's so much easier to be like, oh, well, I should do what so and so is doing, or I should be better at that, or whatever. And it's, you know, a little bit more spinny, where in one-on-one, it's actually harder and more challenging, I think, because it's like spotlight on you. And I'm like, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And I think that's why sometimes one-on-one is like very confronting work, because like to have to answer that question and to have to go there and then to have to like kind of hold yourself to building around it is like really crunchy shit. Sometimes it's so much easier to just be like, you know, whatever. Seems like everyone in this program is doing this. Maybe I'll do this. Like for all of the reasons that we talked about, right? Let's see. Probably because you match our wavelength, but you're more steady than most of us. Geez, that makes sense because you're so grounded and simplify so well. Speaking for myself, yes, that does make sense. Which, like, by the way, when everyone's asking me, like, oh, what what do you look for in an application? Da, 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 da. Like I always say, I look for the person who I feel like I can help the most, which actually does make sense because I really do know like a lot of my strengths are like the groundedness and stuff like that. And so I'm not always picking someone that's also really grounded. I'm like typically like, oh, I can really help there. Like, do you know what I mean? Like if you're feeling kind of spinny, I'm pretty good at pulling that down. Like I'm pretty good at landing us. So anyway, that is something I really do look for is like I know what my strengths are and I know like who I tend to compliment well. So that's very helpful. Thank you. Grounded. Okay, amazing. Thank you. So let's get back to what we want. I'm gonna give you two examples. I feel let me see what Rachel said. She said it feels like this self-trust piece too. Like, can what I want actually work? It's different from what other people want. Yes. I can channel your chaos and redirect all of this great energy. Yes. Yes, Rachel, I think that totally makes sense. It's almost like the permission to want what you want is not, again, a thing that we are gifted. And the trust to be like, no, that is what I want. And I'm not like getting it wrong is so big. I Let me give you two examples because I think this is relevant. So this year I had two client, or I mean, I've had this happened plenty of times, but specifically, I want to talk to you about two clients this year who have changed their business models. So one had a large, let's say like a course model, and just kept feeling this pull for a while that she really wanted to go all in on one-on-one. And, it was like a lot for her to process that and say that of like, hey, this business model has made me great money. It's done a lot of things. It's impacted a lot of people. And it's like, I just don't feel good in this model. And then equally, I had someone do the exact opposite where they actually hired me because they were like, I love that you love one-on-one. I love one-on-one. That's what I want to really do. And then they kind of had to be like, I know that that's like what I said I wanted and what I hired you for, but like, actually, I don't think this is what I want at all. And for both of them, like, there was so much on the line at that point, right? Like they had the business, they had hired the coach for the business, they had scaled the business, they had grown it. Like there was so much on the line to then be like, okay, if I'm being honest, this isn't what I want, you know? And I think that that's like what we're kind of afraid of sometimes is that if we're honest about it, it means so many things. There's so many dominoes that fall from that place. But like, I really believe we have to let the dominoes fall. Like, I think that that's actually so much of our work is to be like, what if they fell? Right? Because again, conditioning for women, it tends to be don't let the dominoes fall, especially if you're a mother, right? I think like we get so used to being like, yeah, I don't let anything fall. There's no downside to this that anyone else can experience from this. And in both of those cases, like there were some downsides to make this change, right? There were massive upsides on the other side, but like there are some downsides to that. Like there might be expenses or investment or changes, or like you might disappoint some team members if you let them go, or your income might dip before it grows again. Like there are a lot of pieces. And I think that so often we don't tell the truth about what we want because the pieces on the board will have to change and it will impact other people when they do. Um, so I think this is another thing, and this is why it can be so hard to really grow a business and why it's kind of directly related to this. Because a lot of times when we start telling the truth about what we want, we're like, but that would mean dot, dot, dot. Like that client I was talking about earlier that came to me being like, I'm so disorganized. When we like really got into it, it's like, you do not have the support you need. And they're like, yeah, yeah, but that would mean like this team member that's been with me for such a long time isn't with me anymore. And it's like, yeah, that is what that would mean, right? Like it's really hard to go there and let ourselves do those things sometimes, of like, yep, that is what that would mean. Or like the client who changed from a course business, it was like, well, that would mean like there were like some months of income dip. Like, yeah, that's that's probably what it would mean. Like, what does that look like for your family? Is that okay? I mean, like there's obviously things to talk about, but like I think we are so programmed to be the buffer for everything. We're like, yeah, but I can't want something and then like have someone else experience a consequence because of that. And it's like, actually, that's exactly what we have to do as leaders sometimes. Actually, that's exactly what we have to do to grow our business sometimes is like want what we want and be okay. Again, not like without regard for anyone else. Like, of course, we're going to give the team member appropriate notice. Of course, we're going to make sure her family is like supported in the best way they could be. But at the same time, like the idea that you can't make a choice for you that's supportive of you unless it doesn't impact anyone else, unless it's acceptable, unless people agree with it, unless, like your choices in business get about this fucking big. Your ability to grow and scale like comes down to this itty bitty little dot, which it can only happen if everything works out in this exact way. And this is that dot most women are circling and living on, right? They're like, well, it can only grow and scale if, and then there's like 30 things that fall into that list. And it's like, that's why it's hard, you know? Because like I want you to want what you want, but like there also might be things that come from that. And if we can go, okay, I'm willing to tell the truth about what I want. I'm willing to tell the truth about what doesn't feel good. And then the last part would be like, and I'm willing for this to be inconvenient for other people a little bit. Like, guess what? Now the like the circle in which like the success and the things that you want live is huge because there are a lot of versions of that. There are a lot of ways that can happen, right? But when it like can only happen in this one very specific way, it's so difficult to get there. Michelle said, I still remember a convo with you where I was feeling really disappointed with my business, and you lovingly pointed out that it falling away was in fact creating space for what I wanted. That was so hard to accept, even though I knew it was true, because it also doesn't always look like we wanted it to look. Yeah, totally. I mean, like, I think if I went back in my business, the truth is I wasn't like, oh, I'm so glad I picked one-on-one. At the time, I was almost like, God, I wish I was like all these other people who really want to grow and scale with a group program. That'd be so much easier for me, right? Right? Like it didn't like that wasn't necessarily how I wanted it to look. It was just my deepest truth, right? And so I think that that's sort of the thing. Like it was like, God, it would be so much easier if I liked that. It'd be so much easier if I enjoyed that. It'd be so much less of a pain in the ass. I'd have to work so much less hard at explaining why I'm doing things the way I'm doing it to everybody, blah, blah, blah. Right. But at the end of the day, like that is what felt most good, true, real in my body. And I had to like tell myself the truth about that. So I think Michelle's point is really perfect here, where it's like sometimes that won't like the truth doesn't always mean it looks the easiest or it looks how exactly we want it to look in that moment, or that it doesn't come with like inconveniences or, other people being impacted or whatever. But it just feels so much better and it's so much more sustainable and scalable. And so, like, this is the thing that we always have to keep coming back to. And again, this is like what I believe the work of great coaching is like, how are we telling ourselves the truth? Because society, this industry, our parents, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, like all kind of have conditioned us in a specific way. And when we can have a mirror for what like our truth is and not what all of that like outside looking in stuff is, it gets so much easier to go get it. And not only that, but to go back to what Rachel was saying earlier, I think that's actually where we build the self-trust, right? That's when we're like, God damn, I have my own back. That's so cool. Wow. Like I showed up for myself in that way. Like my self-trust leaped so massively when I got a divorce, because even though like that wasn't the thing everyone thought I should do and I still did it, I was like, God damn, do I have my own back? Like, wow. Like it was so revolutionary, for me to be like, yes, I got myself. And I think that's so much of what this is like, I got me, right? It got me. I know what I want. And if I don't, I'm willing to get coaching to figure that out. And if I'm seeing the truth of something that looks different than I wanted it to look, I'm willing to tell the truth about that. And if I'm feeling like something isn't lining up, I'm willing to tell the truth about that. And like that is the building blocks of self-trust. It doesn't mean you always get it right. It doesn't mean you always get it perfect. It means you're willing to have your own back and tell the truth about it. Right. And again, coaching can be the mirror for that. It's like, are you sure that's true? Really? Because you said this last week and now you're saying this, what actually feels true for you? Okay, well, we're building for this. Do you actually want that? Because now I'm hearing you say something different, right? Like, and that's why it's confronting. And I like to say that when applications are open, because I think that it can be very easy in some ways to be like, oh, great, Lacey's helped all these clients, make all this money. Like, sign me up. Sounds good. One-on-one will be confronting. Like, please apply with that in mind, perhaps, right? Even one of my clients right now, this is a really good example, actually. I think he actually came in expecting one-on-one to be quite confronting. And in some ways, sure. And in other ways, what has been the most confronting part is that almost everything he's touching is turning to gold and it's feeling so successful and all of this stuff. And that's still confronting as fuck. Does that make sense? So it's like, no matter what, whether you come in and you get like the very fast growth and it just soars, or you come in and there's all this crunchy work to do, like the point is, it will probably be confronting because it's about what you want and what you can hold and telling the truth about it, you know? Um, Michelle said the worst part is the truth always catches up to us, even when we think, even when you think we're masterful liars. Yes, it's so true. Megan said, I feel so called to den for you, but when I'm a boy mom times two and autoimmune level tired, it's hard. I hear that. I mean, listen, I think that um like that might just be another thing of like telling the truth about like why you want like what about done for you is the calling and like how can we meet that um desire and that want in a way that still supports you. And I think, excuse me, not that it's the same at all because it's not, but like just for my example, it's like I had to tell the truth first that I wanted one-on-one, and then the idea for, and I still want to scale my business and I still want to grow. That idea for the partnership model didn't come for several months, but it really did come from this baseline of telling the truth. And so I think the fact that you're willing to be like, I am so called to den for you, even if I just start telling the truth about that, like it might be so interesting what unfolds from there. But yeah, I think that like it makes sense because it's like when we tell the truth about what we want, it doesn't mean there aren't factors there. Like the road doesn't open wide because, and it's like, oh, let me remove every challenge. It's like kind of the opposite in some ways. Sometimes telling the truth about what you want is like, wait, now there's 30 challenges between me and that. That's why I haven't been telling the truth about what I want because fuck, that seems like a lot. But that is the work. To me, that is the work. It's like, I'm going to tell the truth. And then even if I see this path that has like roadblocks and challenges in it, I'm going to go, okay, that's where I can start building the trust for myself. That's where I can start taking one more step further and then deciding, is this still what I want or not? Taking one more step and then deciding, right? Because ultimately, like, that's always getting us closer versus being over here and taking steps away from what we want, which always means we have like a big circular turn to make, which is why a lot of us get burnt out in business, honestly, right? Is because we're always making these huge turns and these huge pivots because it's so hard to say what we want, because it's so hard to tell the truth about it, because if we tell the truth about it, it means certain things, you know? So again, please know, I'm not making any of this. I do not want to make any of this seem easy. It's really not easy. On the other hand, there is simplicity to it, right? The simplicity in being like, this is just my truth really takes a huge weight off of a lot of things, right? The simplicity in just knowing my job is to tell the truth about what I want also takes a weight off of a lot of things. Um, Michelle said, such a good reminder that the truth doesn't always make sense, but when we tell the truth, it creates the opportunity for the path to reveal itself. Totally. Yeah, exactly. I think that's the thing, right? In business, we're sometimes waiting for like, okay, if I land on the true thing, the path clears. And it's like, sometimes, maybe, right? Um, and sometimes we just, again, take one more step and one more step and one more step, and it clears the path. Um, I think another place I see this come up in business a lot. So I'm glad Megan brought this up because I think this is really big. It gets harder, I think, to tell the truth about what you want after you've had kids, too. Not just because it's hard to know what you want after you've had kids, but what I mean is like a lot of times what I see happen to a lot of women in business is what they want changes drastically after they've had kids. And they're scared to tell the truth about that because they think like, oh, whatever, insert thing, like maybe this is just like a pregnancy or postpartum thing, or oh, like how dare I want to change all of this, or gosh, I couldn't possibly because, you know, like insert thing, whatever, like this would be so hard, I can't change my model, etc. And so I think that this is a big piece for a lot of women, especially if you're a mom, especially of young kids, that it gets even harder to sort through what you want. I especially think because a lot of times what you want becomes drastically different. And it's really scary to tell the truth about wanting something drastically different. I think it challenges identity stuff. I think it's really challenging to the people around us. I think that it kind of feels like, how dare we? Because that's again, society conditioning to women. And so feels like it's really important to say that too, because that is a tough one. Like that edge in business can be really, really significant for a lot of women. Prince Philip had to whack a ton of vines to fight a dragon for his dream. Yes, yes, yes. Like this is hard work, you know? But I wanted to say that piece because like Megan was mentioning the mom piece, right? Because it's like so often what we want isn't just for us anymore. And so it looks so different than what we wanted when it was just for us. And that part can be really, really crunchy too. But it's not about the fact that it's not going to be crunchy. It's about coming back to the simplicity of, but if I know what I want and I speak the truth about it, I'm closer. Even if the truth is like, how would I phrase this? I know I really want this and I know it's not the best thing for my family right now. Even that truth can be okay because you can live with that and you can live inside that because you're telling the truth about it, right? But I think where it gets so crunchy is where we're like, but I'm not supposed to say it like that, right? Because then we're in this internal battle with ourselves. So anyway, it's like all of this, once we decide the truth, we say it, we claim it, and we like have to go after it. There's a lot of stuff that will come up. But if we keep coming back to like, I have one job and it's to tell the truth about what I want, everything gets easier. Um, Sarah said 1,000%. I made a big pivot over a year ago after baby two was born. And I'm only just now owning it. Identity stuff for sure. Right. Like it's so complicated, you know, of like what we've wrapped up into that. Again, I think our industry also makes this very, very complicated because there really becomes this like right way to do it narrative. And what I have actually noticed in our industry that's like kind of irritating the fuck out of me lately. Wait, let's see what Michelle said. Michelle said, but also I've had the experience of the truth path. Hold on. The truth path factually being the easiest for me. The hard part was all the resistance I had was having to actually walking it. Yeah, that's true too. I think that's very true. The the thing that's annoying in our industry is that what is like I what I think is getting positioned as like the correct narrative right now is basically to have and do it all. And I don't think everybody's doing this on purpose. I don't think they realize they're doing it, but it's sort of this idea of like you should have everything, you should have it all at once. You should be the most present mom, the most successful business owner, the most fit, the most perfect, the most everything. And it's almost like that's the pedestal, is like everything. But if you ask most women, they don't want that level of intensity. They don't want that level of like absolutely everything. It's not that they don't want their own version of what it means to have it all, but this pressure to be everything to everyone in every way and then also look the part and also um show up as the part, I truly think is genuinely not what most people want, you know? It's not what makes most people happiest inside of their life. And I'm not saying like we can't have the versions that we want, but you get what I mean by that, right? Um, and I think that that conditioning just seeps in so much in our space, and we have to work so hard to be like, is that really what I'm supposed to want, or does that look like a lot of fucking work, you know? Um, I really thought, oh wait, I really shouldn't watch these live streams on my phone. My ability to without time, it's totally fine. I actually am like the worst text typer ever. So I resonate with that deeply. I'm grappling with this right now of like, wow, I have just been avoiding the easier path just because it's so easy that I overlooked it. Yes, Manali, I think that is so true. Hey, Sarah, good to see you. Thank you. Manali's or oh, Michelle was answering Manali. I got it. Yes, it needs to be hard in order to be valuable or worthy. I literally just made a reel about this because I think that's so true. So many women like pedestalize that too, right? Not only does it have to be like the thing that like looks good from the outside, but also it has to look hard. Because if it doesn't look hard, I'm not really fitting into that like between too much and not enough. Like if I'm over here just doing the easy thing, getting everything I want, how fucking dare I? Right? Like I think that's so real. Um, so my point is what Michelle said is true. I think sometimes telling the truth is the fastest path. And I really do see that with clients a lot. Like it is why when I read these applications and someone's just willing to be like, here's the truth, here's what I want, here's what's not working, here's what is, here's what I desire. I'm like, I can fucking work with that, right? It feels like our starting line is all the way down here instead of back here. And it doesn't mean there's not shit. Like it doesn't mean that it's not going to feel crunchy or there's not going to be hard choices or that like the path just opens if you found the right thing, which by the way is so much conditioned from our industry. Like if you just pick the right thing, the whole path opens. I don't think it's that. I think if you pick the right thing, it's easier to walk that path. That's how I experience it. Like I feel like I really picked the right thing with my business model. It doesn't mean that I've never had any challenges with it. It just means it's easier to walk that path, right? Glad to hear it. Yeah, those are the best applications. Um, so permission. Eva said yes. If it's not hard, I don't deserve it, and I don't deserve to be proud of it. Yeah, like that is so pervasive for us, right? And most of us do kind of want something to feel a little bit easy. Like again, if we're telling the truth about what we want, like some of us want something that feels easy. Like that's okay. We're allowed to say that. My word of the year is free will. And like the amount of stuff it's challenged me on and being like, well, you have the free will. What do you want there? Well, you have the free will. What do you want to do? And so much of this has circled. Like I have to know what I want to know what I want to use my free will to do. Right. And some of it is so silly. Like the things that I just wasn't saying out loud, like I use this example in a post I made, but about like having my extensions be really, really long. Like they're super fucking long right now, right? And it's like when I would go, she would be like, "Oh, you want me to cut these, right?" And I'd be like, "Oh, yeah, sure. Obviously, that's what makes sense." And then I was like, "I don't want them cut. Like, why am I not just saying that?" Because it felt like that was like, not what I was supposed to ask for, or it was almost like too much, or I don't even know. But anyway, it just like challenged me so much in these silly ways. And it made me think, well, if I'm doing that on such small things, where else am I doing it? And like, how can we excavate that more? Because I think all of us have this like conditioning that's so bred into us as women, again, in this like too much, not enough space, that it's like we have to work hard, but not too hard, right? Think about that in our industry. Like, we want to know that you tried for it, but like, we don't want to think you hustled for it. you know or we want to know that like you had to put in effort, but we don't want you to be putting in so much effort that like you must be a bad mom and not ever seeing your kids, or like there are all these like fucking rules that get set up. And so I think like so much of the point of this is like we have to shatter that, and we have to just be like, what do I want? From anything as small as like longer hair, to as big as like an entirely different life or business model or whatever. And the crux of that is always, how quickly can I get to my truth and how quickly can I verbalize it? Right. And this is why I believe in coaching, because I think it's the thing that helps you get to that truth quicker, verbalize it more fully, and actually create a plan to live into it instead of feeling like you're stuck. So if you are looking for a coach that will help you do that, but again, it will be confronting, and it will be you know, about your truth. Like I would love to do that. So we have one-on-one applications are open. Remember, they close tomorrow. But this is like a lot of the work, right? So if this is resonant, like I think that tells you it might be the thing you're looking for. Like this is the work we have to do. And I think it's especially important that we do this work as women, because we are just so conditioned for the opposite. So I love you guys. Thank you for being here, for listening to me this week. If you have questions or anything regarding applications, obviously reach out. I'm here, and I hope you guys have a beautiful week. I'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.